Hi, this is Frode and welcome back to Actualize Notes TV. Today we have another great book, one of my first nutrition books, Eat Fat, Get Thin, by Dr. Mark Hyman. Eat Fat, Get Thin. Subtitle, Why the Fat We Eat is the Key to Sustained Weight Loss and Vibrant Health. Which are the core reasons that I bought this book, to create sustained weight loss. Though I'm not directly overweight, I am yo-yoing a bit. And vibrant health, feeling more energized and reducing my risk of heart disease. Since my grandfather died of a stroke, my father just had a minor stroke at age 50, and I want to reduce those dangers. Alright, Mark Hyman is the founder of the Ultra Wellness Center, and as a practicing family physician, he has treated over 20,000 patients over the last 30 years. He's also an amazingly fun guy and a rigorous researcher on fat. He has made me a fat geek. Not a fat geek, but a fat geek. Alright. In this book, he walks through some really fascinating science that proves the opposite belief that many of us have. That we think that fats are bad because they make us fat when we eat them, and carbs are good because they are not fats. But he shows us that it's the opposite. Fats are good for us, carbs are bad. And here is why kind of book. It shows a lot of research on that. I am convinced, and I hope you'll be too. First big idea, practical big idea, is a big fat health mess. So he talks about how, I think it was in the last 50 years, some zealous scientists did some studies which showed that fat increased the risk of heart disease, obesity, and all the bad things we don't want to experience. And they impacted the government to create new policies, basically recommendations for people as to what foods are healthy and bad. And this made the food industry try to fill this need for low-fat foods, since we basically replaced the fat in our diet, threw it out, and replaced it with carbs. And yeah, we were all pretty frightened by fat, kind of like the reaction people get when King Kong comes into the city. So we threw away all fat, replaced it with carbs, and now people in America are eating about 146 pounds of flour each year and 152 pounds of sugar. Think about that. And all the science in the book shows us that carbs and sugar are really not good for us. Carbs are in both flour and sugar. And yes, you can imagine eating me in the form of sugar once. Yeah, make sure you chew. And then you can eat me once more in the form of flour. And that's all the bad things that we don't want in our bodies that you have just consumed. So we got ourselves into this big fat health mess, and did you know that we drink about 20% of our calories? The average person does. And what sugar-sweetened drinks do to us is that they create what Mark calls biological addictions. We get cravings, and our bodies don't even recognize the drinks as food. So we get more hungry, and we get in more calories, which makes us overweight. And what all this led to, this big fat health mess, is that we demonized fat, we glorified carbs, and we paid the price of heart disease, diabetes, and obesity. None of those are good things. So our next big idea, or just a question. What do you think about fat? Do you think that it clogs up your arteries and is bad for you? Or do you think it might be healthy? Let's dive more into that. Our second big idea is a calorie a calorie? In short, no. Mark presents two main hypotheses that prove and disprove this point. First one is the energy balance hypothesis. So this basically says calories in, calories out, or energy in, energy out. If you eat more, you will gain weight. If you eat less, then you will lose weight. But this is only based on experiments that show when you, for example, burn olive oil in a vacuum inside a lab, then a calorie might be a calorie. But not if foods are to be going through our bodies. And this presents the second hypothesis, which is the metabolic hypothesis. And this is more about, I'll write energy balance hypothesis and metabolic. So in short, carbs turn off your metabolic switches, meaning your metabolism drops down and you burn less fat and energy. Whereas fat turns on your fat burning, you're on your metabolic switch, which means your metabolism goes up and you burn more fat. So that's the short story there. A calorie is not a calorie, only when burned in a vacuum, not when it goes through our bodies. Our body uses carbs and store it as fat, whereas it uses fat and burns it as fuel when you get used to it. Alright, next big idea. Why do we get overweight? So most people think that, Mark tells us, that when we eat more, we get overweight. Eating more equals overweight. A person, yes. But he says that it's actually that being overweight makes us eat more. Why? Because when we're overweight, most of us go on a less food, more exercise diet. So we eat less and exercise more. And what happens then is that your body goes into a starvation mode, which was very useful back on the savannah. You get tired, so you spend less calories. You get hungry, so you will eat more calories. And your metabolism drops, as we talked about, when you eat carbs and less food, meaning that you burn less fat. And Mark says that there is only about 10% of people who can kind of survive on a low-fat, high-carbohydrate diet where you eat less than you burn each day. And there's about 10% who can do that for more than 1 year. So, in short, the reason we get overweight is that it's not because when we eat more become overweight, but when we are overweight and try to eat less and exercise more, our body goes into starvation mode. And the solution is a high-fat, low-carb diet, which this book is all about. He gives us a 21-day program in order to reboot our system, to learn to burn fat as fuel instead of relying on bursts of sugar from carbs. So you can check out the book for more on that. Our third big idea is 3 components. So in the 21-day Eat Fat Get Thin plan, he has 3 components that we need to execute daily. They are nourish. We need to nourish our bodies with good foods. He recommends 3 meals a day and 2 healthy snacks like nuts or avocados. And energize. Running a bit long here, but we'll go with it. Energize, you need to move in some way every single day. 30 minutes of moderate exercise. It can be just walking. Take you 3 10-minute walks, or 1 walk, or exercising, running, bicycling, or whatever. Just that you do it every single day in order to be healthy. And rejuvenate. Rejuvenate. This means basically get between 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night, because science says that that is the optimal level of sleep that most people fall in between. There are certain mutations in people that makes about 2.5% of the population able to get by on less than 7 hours of sleep, but most probably not you and me. Certainly not me. You need to nourish yourself, energize yourself, and rejuvenate yourself. In other words, are you taking care of your fundamentals? In our Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where actualization is on the top and the more fundamental physiological needs are on the bottom, are you taking care of eating, moving, and sleeping? As Tom Rath talks about in his book, Eat, Move, Sleep. We want to do that because how are we going to be healthy if not? And our 5th big idea, good foods. So you might say that, yeah, all this makes pretty good sense. And yeah, I agree with you. Fat is good, carbs is bad. Now, what kinds of food can we eat? And there are some basic recommendations that we can look at. eggs. Many people have been afraid of the cholesterol in eggs, but studies have proven that a huge analysis has proven that it doesn't affect cholesterol levels negatively. And one man actually ate 25 eggs every single day for 15 years without having his cholesterol be changed at all, if I remember correctly. And that guy might have been crazy, Mark says, but he doesn't have heart disease. Alright, next one is, also calls it might be the best, new and cheapest health food. Maybe not new, but best and cheapest health food. Next is butter. Butter is the next food. And most of us are afraid of the saturated fat in butter. But the saturated fat in butter is only harmful if you don't get enough omega-3s and you eat a high-carb diet. But if you eat a high-fat, low-carb diet, then butter is no problem. It's actually good for you. Next is coconut oil. Short story there is that the saturated fat in coconut oil has some really powerful nutrients called micro-chain triglycerides, I think, MCT oils. And they are like super fuel for your cells. Mark tells us about a study where men who took in some coconut oil daily burned 460 calories more than other men. And women, about 190 calories more. Sorry about that one, women. And olive oil, so next one. He calls it liquid gold. It reduces many of your it reduces inflammation, which is the cause of obesity, heart disease, and everything we don't want to experience. So it's good for you. But you want to look for the extra virgin olive oil. Because when people create olive oil, the first pressing from the olives that's the good one. And that's what you find in extra virgin olive oil. Vegetable oils, those are not good for you. Sunflower oil, safflower oil, soybean oil, those are not as good, as those are unhealthy, and olive oil is good. Last one is nuts. Nuts like almonds and cashews are good, and peanuts are not good, because Mark says that they are lentils and not nuts, and probably there is something that's not good with that. Alright, which are your favorite meal options? Which of them are you going to add to your grocery list right now? So those are good foods: eggs, butter, coconut oil, olive oil, nuts. 3 components to a healthy life: nourish, energize, rejuvenate. Our fundamentals: eat, move, sleep. Why do we get overweight? Not because we eat more, but we eat more because we are overweight. That's one possibility. And is a calorie a calorie? No, because our calories are not burned in a vacuum. They are burned in our body. And we use fat as fuel and carbs as fat storage, mostly around our waist. Big fat health mess. We started fearing fat, replaced it with carbs, and we started drinking our calories, which increases our cravings. And we demonized fat, glorified carbs, and received the results of heart disease, obesity, and diabetes. So which of these ideas resonated most with you, and what can you do today to apply that big idea a bit more consistently to your life starting today? Alright, get on that. It was a quick look at Eat Fat, Get Thin by Mark Hyman. If you're going to read a health book, I highly recommend this one. I really enjoyed it. Thank you. Yeah. Now, thank you very much for watching. I'm looking forward to sharing more wisdom with you soon. Have another awesome day. See ya.